morning everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's Carol here at Oak House Journals. I'm going to do Margarete Miller's week 33 of her Collage Weekly Challenge assignment for 2025. These are the prompts. This is my working background area. As always, I won't necessarily fill the whole of this. I may well do a smaller collage in the middle, but I've got it sectioned off with a pencil mark all the way around, and I'll be working ostensibly inside those guidelines. So let's go through the prompts. The first one is an insect. So I've got this Collage Botanical World book, an RHS book, which I've bought very recently. I've not used it yet. And it's got oodles of pages inside here of insects, different sizes, different bugs and crawly creatures, the odd fish as well, obviously on these earlier pages here, but I've got some smaller bugs there and definitely smaller ones here that I can use, or insects that I can use. I'm going to see how my collage pans out first before I go in and choose one of these, but I do need to fussy cut those out. And I'm thinking probably something as small as one of these, possibly that. Anyway, so I've got those off to one side to hit the first prompt. The second prompt is a fragment of a story or a poem. So I've got this portion out of a book. So I've got a portion of a poem up there, and obviously I've got the story here, so I could use either of those. The other option that I've got is a page out of this, which is the complete works of Voltaire, as you can see. This is a play, but a play is a story, and I've just pulled out a page, and I could use a portion of that. It depends what colour tones work best with my other prompt choices. Lots of indecision today actually, so I'm going to put that to one side and go on to the third prompt, which is a body of water. So I've got this image here, and I'm going to use a portion of that, and as you can see there's some fold lines, so maybe I'll just use something like that on my page, and then collage on the top so that this becomes a bit of a background piece. So that's an idea, in which case that is probably the wrong colour, because this is an off-white creamy colour. The play is a better colour with it being monochrome. Moving on, the next prompt, let's pop that to one side. A piece of paper with a coffee ring or a stain. Again, this is another piece out of that Voltaire book. Now I could use this, not sure if I want to, it's pretty grungy. I could use a small portion there, or I could use the whole piece. Lighter on this side, so perhaps like this better, so I could use a portion of this, or I could put a coffee cup down on my finished collage, and that would work as well. Penultimate prompt is a pair of something, so I've got leaves. So I've got this pair of Japanese maple leaves, again needing to be fussy cut. If I decide to go with a green bug, then I could use either of these leaves. So I do need to make some decisions before I move much further, but I want to play with my pieces on my background working paper here to see where it's going to lead me and to which choice. So I've got two options there, this choice or this choice. And then finally a handwritten signature, and believe it or not, I've got two again. So I've got this lovely little one here, love that little tiny signature. Or if I need something to stand out, I've got this one. Okay, so I'm just going to put my choices off to one side here, bring in my working background, that in front of me, and let's see what I can come up with. So if I go with this as it is, like this, this doesn't give me a body of water. This side does, and that bit, so I definitely need to fold it like that. Now I could have something like that, but I've got a great big fold line down the middle of that. But let's have a look at this. This gives me interest both sides at the top and down here, and if I collage more or less down here, then I think it would be noticeable as an area of water. So I'm going to go with that. So I've still got this white border at the bottom, and it is outside, marginally outside my working area. Not too bothered about that, because these are just guidelines. Now, as I said before, I'm leaning towards using a piece of this rather than this. The simple reason I like the monochrome, and I could use the bugs and the leaves as my pop of colour. Before I go any further, I'm going to start by trimming this with my guillotine. I'm going to chop off this white border across the bottom. And I've got a white border on the top, so I'm going to take that away as well. Looking at this, I could maybe even do something like this across the bottom. Even turn it upside down if I wanted to. Yeah, I'm liking that. I'm liking the undulation. I could even trim it along the bottom and pull it down so that I just cover up those. I could even reduce it at the top there. I'm going to trim this to the size of this piece. So I'm going to trim it at the sides because that gives me scope to get my signature in across the bottom. I need to decide what bug I'm going to use. I want something fairly small. Now that's a pretty little one. That might be nice to use. And it would work with my green leaves. I do like that, but it's a bit big. And similarly with these. That would tie in with the monochrome. I'm going to cut that one out. I could go for a fly, so I'm going to cut one of those out. What else have I got? Maybe that one, question mark. I think that's my options. Okay, so I'm going to go away. I'm going to fussy cut my leaves, and I'm going to fussy cut that one, and that one. At the moment, I'm leaning towards that one, and then I'll come back and audition them on my piece. See you in a moment. Okay, so I've done my fussy cutting, or as much as I'm going to do. I've decided to leave these and to concentrate on the green leaves, so I'm popping those there. I've trimmed this down level with this piece here, and I'm just going to have it so that it covers those snowy rocks down there, so something like that. My leaves, I'm going to have one up here. Now I like this one because it's got brown on the tips, so it's going to fade into this here, or that's what I'm hoping, which is brown rushes. And then I'm going to have this one. I thought maybe something like that down there, maybe angle that a little bit more so that you can make out that it is another leaf. Maybe, no, I'll leave it underneath, I think, have it like that. But I am going to try and get it so that I've got the two stems somewhere close to each other, and I am liking that that's got a rough edge. These edges on either side here and along the bottom are now smooth because they were cut on my guillotine. I've got this big bug, and I've also got this little one. Now I'm leaning towards this little one because I think it will be quite discreet down there, but I am a little bit worried about it being lost. So I could have something like that, maybe pull that down and over a little bit more, not sure. This one I think is a little bit too big, might be not too bad if I separate those out a little bit. So maybe something like that. At one stage I thought I probably would have both in, maybe have something up there, or try and get a rule of 3 in with another insect, but the prompt is an insect, so it's either one or the other. For the time being, I'm just going to leave my beetle there. I'm not going to glue anything down yet because I'm not ready for that. I'm going to take away this from about there across the top, so I'll do that in 1 second. Before I go any further, let's pop that out of the way. Before I go any further, I need to decide on which signature I'm going to use and how I'm going to use it. This one's very tiny, because I'm just thinking if I roughly tore that, I could have it going across there. But what might be nice is to have something a little bit bolder and use this one. So let's go with this one. So I could do that. It's looking a little bit just sat on there. So I'm going to address this and then come back. This in, see what I've got, because I could always, I'm wondering whether to do something like this on this side and make use of that coming across here. I could even rip that across there to kind of make even more of an undulation, so that would work. And if I took this over a little bit more to that side, That could work potentially. And then bring in my leaves up here and use the leaves almost to soften the transition down here. And what I could do is I could take a little section off there and down here off this, so that the whole thing could move across a little bit more. See what this would look like. See, I'm liking that better. Don't want so much of that showing. So that's why I'm thinking I might shave that down the side there, and I can reduce a bit off the side there. I'm going to glue this bottom portion onto here, and then I'm going to take a slither off down the side to reduce a bit of this, not much, probably just shy of 1 centimetre there. Liking the placement of those leaves on there and having that angled. What I can't decide now is whether to use the big bug or the little bug on there. If I have the big one, then I want it off, but I quite like how delicate that looks and unassuming having the little one on there. I could almost bring it down to here. I've got my leaves glued as I want them, with the exception of the stem there. They're not glued down onto my backing as yet, but they are glued down onto the base here, because I'm just going to have them so that they're lifting. And I was auditioning this bug against this bug, and I'm going with this little one here. So all I'm going to do is put a little bit of glue underneath his body and try and have it so that it looks like he's just floating onto that writing there. Try and get this stem in if I can. A little bit of glue on here. There you go. Just dab a little bit off like that. And then a little bit underneath these leaves at the back. Not much, just a little bit, so that they can gently lift at the edges. I'm going to glue this onto here. You're probably thinking she's going to finish any minute now, but she's forgotten something. I haven't forgotten something. I need to do a coffee ring or stain. So I'm just going to grab something. Okay, so I'm going to bring in this. This is some cold coffee from earlier. I've got a cup, and I'm actually going to just make a stain on here, and hopefully this is going to work. So I was thinking I would try and get it round there, off here, and on both of these pieces. So fingers crossed for me, everybody. I'm just going to take some off like that. Didn't quite work as planned, but I think that's going to be okay. I'm just going to try and get a splat on there as well. I'm going to leave that to air dry, and then I'll come back with the prompts and go through them with you. So let me bring in my prompt pieces. Just a very, very simple collage today. The first prompt was an insect. Well, I went with this little moth or butterfly down here. A fragment of a story or a poem. Well, I went with this play, which is in effect a story. A body of water. I have this lovely wintry scene. Next prompt is a piece of paper with a coffee ring or a stain. Well, here's my ring of coffee, and I've got some other little splotches down here on this piece. A pair of something. Well, I went with a couple of leaves here, and bonus, a handwritten signature. Well, I went with this one saying Charles down there. So thank you so much, everybody, for watching. I'll do a couple of close-up photos, and hope to see you in the next video. Until then, have a great week. Bye bye now.